I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
We have such sights to show you.
Yeah, well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
Check out the big brain on Brad.
I guess I was probably returning videotapes.
I am big. It's the picture that got small.
Who cares?
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Movie Roulette Tuesday podcast. This is Matt.
This is Rachel.
This is Carl.
I can't be extra like you.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
No.
I'll be the extra.
It wasn't even the same.
I will be extra.
All right. Anyway, aside from our enthusiastic intros, we are at the beginning of yet another cycle.
Yes.
Exciting times.
Exciting times. And
the wheel has turned yet again.
The wheel has the roulette wheel has spun and landed on Rebels with a Cause.
Yes.
So kind of a play, a direct play on Rebel Without a Cause,
which is a good movie.
James Dean.
I have never seen that
You
movie.
haven't?
No.
It's worth seeing. It's a good movie.
From, was
50s.
it the 50s? It was the late 50s, I believe.
I don't know.
Didn't he die right after that?
Yeah, that kind of brought him to prominence. He was in that, wasn't he in, oh my God, the movie that was the book, Steinbeck.
Jaws.
No, stop. Oh my.
Catcher in the Rye.
No, come on.
Lord of the Flies.
Stop it.
Lord of the
You guys
Rings.
are ruining everything. He was
could've
in
been
Lord of the Rings.
He was Frodo, wasn't he?
He could have played probably Legolas or
Squinty.
something. Squinty.
No, I know what you're talking about, but I can't.
What the heck's the name of it? And the guy's name's Adam and Aaron and oh my God.
City Slickers.
No.
East of Eden.
East of Eden.
Yeah.
He's in that.
Yep.
Thank you.
I knew it would
Thank
get
you.
there eventually.
Yes. It's
fantastic book. I've never seen the
movies. You saw the movie.
We did see the movie.
It's okay.
I forgot.
It's okay.
Yeah. I have a complaint about human anatomy before we continue.
Oh my God.
geez,
Where are we
this will be
going
good.
with
Even
this?
further.
I'm scared.
Only because it happened to me today, and I feel like talking about it. So I have had issues with my ears forever. Forever. Ever since I was little, I would get water in my ears.
Did you have the tubes?
When I go swimming, I never had tubes.
He should have had them.
Did they have them back then?
I don't know.
I don't know.
But
That's a
he
good
should have had
question,
them.
but
He has Eustachian tube problems.
I do. I have persistent eustachian tube issues.
Maybe you could get the tubes now.
Maybe. I have to go to you
just pick up the phone.
ENT.
Otolaryngologist.
Yes. But, so my right ear, through years of diving and other related things, I have these persistent eustachian tube issues. It's almost like there's water or something behind my eardrum, and it drives me crazy. And every time it rains, anytime the pressure drops, it feels like there's something inside of my head on the right side, and it drives me crazy.
Just on the one side, huh?
Well, normally it's only on the right side. Today, I woke up and I worked from home today, and in the process of getting ready for the day, I had my coffee, I shaved, and I took a shower.
Hooray
most
for
people
personal
will.
hygiene.
Well, look, I'm just setting up the story. I'm not saying it as like some personal triumph.
I used soap.
I did it.
Scrubbed.
There was shampoo.
So anyway, it happened. But while I was in the shower, we have the normal shower head and then a sprayer head, and usually I will spray warm water in my ear canals, which I do anyway. But it was also on the advice of a doctor the last time I had my ear looked at.
Oh, okay.
They're like, just flush your ears in the shower, not a big deal.
Yikes.
So I do it. But today, and I think it's because the shape of my inner ear or the side, like it's small or I don't know what, but I tend to trap water. in my ears, and my normally bothersome right ear was, of course, fine, but it's been bothering me the past few days because it's been raining. But today I sprayed water in my left ear, and the water decided to get trapped in there somehow, and it will not come out. So depending on how I move my head,
It sloshes.
it like moves across my
Yeah.
eardrum,
Ugh.
and I can feel it.
I
It's
don't
almost
know
like
how
all of a
I
sudden my
would
ear gets full.
Take an ice pick
And
to
then,
my ear.
man,
Oh, I'd be banging my
Yeah.
head on something.
you
Yeah.
want to talk about? I mean, when I had my concussion, we talked about your
Vestibular system.
vestibular system and getting dizzy. I have like superhuman balance now, given
I can imagine.
how much I have to fight against my ears and being off balance,
Out of
and
whack.
water in them, and whatever. It drives me crazy.
Yeah.
You guys have never had issues with that?
My ear?
Yeah.
My ears?
Or just getting water in your ears when you were swimming.
Well, when I was a kid,
whatever.
you'd get water in your ears, but all I had to do would hop on one foot and kind of hang your head on that side, and that little warm trickle of water would come right out. I never had ear problems. I had an earache a handful of times, like an ear infection as a kid.
Yeah.
And anytime I do have ear problems, I'd jump off a building. Like if I were you, I would have gone to the doctor by now.
Yeah.
Be like, fix me. I can't tolerate this. But
I should. I should go. Carl, never?
No, never.
Oh.
I mean, I've gotten water stuck in my ears
Yeah.
like anybody after
Yeah.
swimming or whatever.
Yeah.
I would, when you mentioned, I would never dream of taking the shower
Oh my
head
God, no.
and spraying it directly in my ear. Like I don't know that I could do that because
No.
I would be afraid that water would get stuck in there.
I actually have a device that is called the Whoosh, and it's
it is.
like it's a separate device. You charge it via USB-C, and it's a little water pump with
Was it
a.
like a water pick for your ears?
Yeah,
That's exactly what it is. Yep, yep, and it does work. You got to be careful.
I can't. I tried it once, and it screwed up my vestibular system. I got so dizzy. I was like, nope.
Did you use cold water?
No, I used warm water.
all right.
I can't do it.
It's like, do you ever, like, Sarah got one of those Navage
Oh, I would
machines.
like that. I want to
Did
do
you
that.
try it?
I did not try it. She tried it like once, and she was like, "It worked, but for like the briefest of minutes, I thought I was going to drown." Because
you're waterboarding yourself.
Your body isn't used to that, and like.
Does she still use it?
No,
Can I borrow it?
I can ask her. Sure.
Yeah, ask her if I can borrow it. I want to try it. I
Sterilize
want
it.
to.
Have you ever had she ever used a neti pot?
No.
Oh well.
No. So she'd never really flushed her nose
So she
like
went,
that
she went
before.
for like the full
Very
intense
startling.
experience.
Yeah.
Very startling. But it's a great.
Right
Oh
off
my
the
God. I've always wanted one, but I never bought it. But yes, ask her if I can borrow
I'll
it.
see what I can do.
Yeah.
I want to flush my
A
nose.
neti pot is an
my God.
interesting experience, but
My
you
mother would
have
do those
to
all the time.
use,
Warm water.
Ideally, not only warm water, but ideally distilled water.
Oh, you can give yourself a brain parasite.
Yeah, you sure can, and you
gotta-
got to use the packets that come with it.
Right. Isotonic.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about your ear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
no,
I'm
that's-
sorry
stinks.
to hear that.
Me too. It was really really annoying, and it's still there. And
Do they have drops you can put in there to dry it out?
they
or?
have swimmer's ear drops, which is essentially just isopropyl alcohol.
Right.
He
to-
jams
to
all
help- to
kinds of
help.
things in his ear. He does like peroxide
Dry it
and
out.
alcohol and the wax Debrox drops. He's always messing with his ears, and he should go to the doctor. Maybe this conversation will be the.
No.
I've given you the phone number to call multiple times. All you gotta do is call.
Yeah.
Please help.
Anyway, so our theme this week.
Is stubborn men who refuse to go to the doctor and solve their problems.
Kind of,
Well,
yes.
stubborn
Yeah.
men.
So that would be
Stubborn people.
rebel with a cause.
Yes.
And we talked about the already well-known phrase or movie title, whatever, rebel without a cause.
Yep.
Which is
Don't you need a cause to be a rebel?
well, no. So, and I guess we'll talk about that a little bit. So, being a rebel without a cause,
It's like being a hooligan.
you're not on. So, all right, the difference between our theme, rebels with a cause, and rebel without a cause, there is a defiance there, right? You are pushing back against well, in the case of Without a Cause, you're just rebelling.
You're angry
In general.
at society,
You're angry at the system,
the world.
You're pushing back. Whereas if you have a cause, you are rebelling with a purpose.
Right.
You are. I found a good line. It says, one is a vibe, the other is a mission.
Yeah.
And I thought that rang pretty true.
Yeah.
Where, you're in one hand, disaffected, typically youth, pushing back against the man or the system or the way things are. Whereas in the other camp, you have a goal or some sort of ideal that you're fighting for.
Yes.
You're rebelling against established norms in order to bring attention to and further a specific cause.
Right.
Right. And I never saw. I don't think I saw Rebel Without a Cause, but that's a recurring theme in a lot of film and other popular media where the man is the bad guy and
Or you just have
it's
disaffected
the
youths.
system and yeah.
Isn't that like Train Spotting?
Yes.
Yeah.
Train Spotting was actually. It came up as one of the potentials for my pick.
Or Christian Slater's characters in Heathers. He's a rebel without a cause.
He is a better example,
Yeah.
I think. Than
Like an agent of
Trainspotting.
chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just a troublemaker.
Yeah.
For the sake of it.
Yep.
Right.
Maladjusted.
And
But Rebel Without a Cause is a good movie.
yeah, I have to add that
Should be watched.
to the list. But so along that line of thinking, the question I had for you guys, related to our theme, was: did you ever outwardly rebel against anything? If so, were you a rebel with or without a cause? And what form did that rebellion take? What did you do? How did you fight against the system, or fight for a specific cause?
Carl, do you have anything?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. You go first.
Most of it happened in high school. There was the Walden episode
That's right.
where we were assigned. I think I've told this story. We were assigned to read Walden by Henry David Thoreau.
Which is a great story.
Well, but listen, in high school, I didn't like it either.
And
I
I
didn't.
was a voracious reader in high school. Not as much now, which I need to change that. I need to get back into reading.
Oh, me too.
Like I'm seriously, it's like I need to do it. Because I feel like it's my brain is shrinking from not reading.
If you read
Like, I
5
really
books
think that's the case.
and bring them to me, I will buy you a personal pan pizza, like the Book It Club.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit! I'll hold you to that.
All right, that's fine.
But not to go off on a tangent, because we're trying to be a little more time conscious.
We are, and we're going to
in our
be.
more recent episodes for you, the listener, for your benefit, and
Yes.
and for ours.
Yes.
But this isn't the first time we've mentioned this amongst ourselves and also in general. People tend to say that I really need to read more. Blah blah blah. We read constantly.
On my phone.
But you're reading. You are constantly engaging in print in one way or another, media, and reading articles. You're not reading long form novels.
That's different than reading fiction. I feel like reading fiction is some. You've got some escapism. You're getting away from the problems of the real world and like giving your brain a vacation from that.
Not only that, you're practicing a form of discipline. It's like, I'm going to sit down
and read.
and I'm going to focus on
No
this
distractions.
now. Yeah.
That's the hardest part.
Right.
I know.
100%.
Yeah.
But in high school, I would read at least a book a week, if not more.
Nice.
Like I was always reading.
I was a big reader.
Always. I had a book with me everywhere I went.
Yeah.
And so when we started getting books assigned to us, it annoyed me.
Put out by that.
It's like if the point of this is to make sure we're reading, I gotcha. I'm already reading. I don't need you to assign me books. I'm reading plenty of books on my own, and the books that you're assigning me are taking away from my own reading. And for whatever reason, Walden was the book
That was the hill you were going to die on.
That pushed me over the edge. Because it's this book about personal freedoms, and I'm going to go into the woods and live,
Yeah.
just live this free life. And
And he did. He actually did.
oh, I know. But in my head, I'm thinking, if Henry David Thoreau knew that children were being forced to read his book, he would be appalled. Like, read it if you want to read it, but like,
Yeah, but all right.
So-
Not to be the rain cloud on your parade, but the whole point is to pick something that you wouldn't normally pick and be able to critically analyze
Well-
it and speak to it.
I understand that now.
Now,
that
but
was
yeah.
like the movie Roulette Tuesday of our youth, where they
yeah.
Well, but did you discuss the book in class?
sure.
Well,
of
then
course.
that there
Of
it
course.
is. If it was just read this on your own time and do nothing with
No,
it, I could understand your outrage. But if it's, I need you to read this so that we can talk about
Sure.
the themes and elements and critique it.
Yeah.
That's, sorry, young Carl.
Oh no, I'm not saying I was right in
But you were
in
outraged.
tearing the book in half and shoving it in my teacher's mailbox.
Oh my God.
But
The teacher couldn't get through to you, huh?
that's what I did.
to talk about.
I read it, and then I
Wow.
hate read it.
He read it.
He's talking about carving ice from the pond and making his own ice. I'm just like, this is
I don't want
the
this.
worst thing I've ever read in my life.
Oh, see, to me, that's like a roadmap
And I and
in ideal life.
I finished
Now
it.
it is.
And I
Not for
promptly tore it in half.
Wow, you vandalized a book.
And I put it in our teacher's mailbox.
Is that a threat?
in the faculty mailbox.
Wow. Did the teacher know it was you?
Well, no, but
I'm sure he could guess.
he had it in class, and
knew
he
it
was
was
and he was like,
Somebody hated
you wouldn't believe what I found in my mailbox.
Oh my God, Carl.
Carl, yes.
Anybody know who might have done this? And he's looking right at me.
Yeah.
Because he knew it was
He
you.
knew
And
it
I
was
said,
you.
Wait, are you accusing me of doing that? I would never deface a
So you lied to his face in class?
100%.
Wow. It's terrible.
The other thing I did during that time, because we went to a high school that was very, very, it was a Catholic college preparatory high school. So we had to wear suits and ties and all of that. And the school paid a lot of attention to the people that were really good at sports or really, really smart.
Yep.
Anybody in the middle kind of, and I'm not saying that going to that school didn't help me, get into colleges, because there was a certain notoriety to the name of the school that opened doors for people. But I was miserable there. I was bullied a bit. I did not have a good time at that school. And so I made a list of 100 reasons why this high school was a horrible place. And then I made a bunch of copies of it.
Yeah.
And I stuck them all over the school.
Wow.
I brought them into the library, and I would stick them between random books in the library.
Did you ever find Carl's list, Matthew?
What do you mean, find it?
Just come upon it?
Carl shared it with me.
I probably gave him a copy.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
all right.
read it, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I don't know if you stumbled upon one
Well,
of
and
them.
then, flash forward, one of our teachers found it.
Uh-oh.
And he actually discussed it.
Oh,
in
that's
class.
kinda nice.
He's like, let's read through this list
Yeah.
and talk about it.
Yeah. Did you feel better after that?
No,
Okay. All right.
but those are the ones.
Those
that
are your
sprung to
rebel
mind.
with a cause.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
So the one I can think of the most also happened when I was in high school. And I was the same kind of the same mentality, where if I thought something was stupid or a waste of my time or didn't apply to me, I was very vocal about, I'm not doing this. Or sometimes I wouldn't be vocal, I'd just be sneaky and not do it, or be like, F you, I'm not doing this. But the one thing I took a stand on was same thing. I went to a private high school, and they were big on academics and sports. A lot of high schools are, right? Those are their things. And
Because they want you to be a well-rounded person,
I totally understand that.
not a subversive.
So, well, I
Rebel.
was. But in high school, I had this other issue where I struggled with asthma. And for some reason, my mother wouldn't take me to the doctor. So it was untreated for a long time until I think junior year. And I'm talking full blown wheezing, I can't breathe.
And you didn't have
asthma
inhalers or
attacks.
anything, huh?
I had nothing. and it was exercise induced. So we'd go, you had to play a sport every season, whether it was field hockey or tennis or soccer or lacrosse or what, you had to do it.
Geez, at least our high school didn't do that. Oof.
So, and that was on top of gym. You had to be committed to a sport. And I hated it because I really struggled. I think if my asthma was under control, I'd probably feel a lot different. But the teacher, the coach would be like, all right, go run around the field. And I couldn't do it. And the coach would be like, kind of annoyed, be like, fine, go sit down or go whatever. And I felt like no one was helping me. So
like, oh, she's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, but I couldn't breathe.
Right.
And so it really soured me on all of it to the point where I hated it. And I went to the dean of students or whatever, and I was like, I'm not doing this. I don't want to. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. And the guy was really actually nice. And he's like, well, you got to do something. You have to, these are the rules. You got to do some kind of activity. Can you think of something that you could do that would satisfy these requirements? So I'm like, yep. And I formed the walking club. So after school, when other people were doing sports, and I had a group of people that did it with me, but I founded the walking club, and we would walk. There was like a beautiful local park, like within walking distance of our school. And so we would go walk through the park for the allotted time. And that was my rebel with a cause. I'm like, I'm not doing sports. I'm not doing this. I don't want to. I don't feel good. So a walking club. And it was successful. It ran through junior and senior year.
Did you have a picture in the yearbook?
I think we did.
Nice.
I think we did. The walking club.
The walking club.
Yeah. Yep.
Is it still there to this day?
I don't think so. But who knows? Maybe now they're very inclusive.
They could make a plaque with your name on it?
They should.
Founding member?
Founder of the walking club. I made that happen. It's like, I am not doing this.
You were on a mission. You had a cause.
I did.
A rebel with a cause.
Matt?
I didn't want to do physical fitness.
So I thought about this a lot for me.
Mm-hmm.
And the more I tried to come up with specific things, the more I discovered that I was really more a rebel without a cause who I was pushing back against everything when I was growing up. If I felt passionately about something, which was most things, I would have some reason to not do it or speak out against it or whatever. I never really had a specific thing I was fighting for. I guess if I had to name one, it would just be more, personal freedom or, the ability to recognize that I am an individual and can make my own decisions.
But wouldn't that be a cause? Like, what makes a cause a cause?
So I think a cause needs to be less personal and more universal, where
I think personal freedoms is a cause.
I think the idea of personal freedoms is a cause. I think that what I was fighting for was more just stuff that I found disagreeable to me.
There you go.
To me.
I don't want to do this. Kind of like walking club.
Exactly.
Or Walden. These all kind of the same. But we had
I mean, I wasn't necessarily fighting for the rights of the rest of the students to be able to read what they want.
I was fighting for the rights of people who didn't want to play sports.
Yeah, but you like in the Walden case, you could make an argument that your ideals were bigger than just your personal preferences. That it was more, we should be able to, what's the main goal, and we should be able to fulfill that goal through other means other than,
right.
This specific assigned reading. I don't know. Part of what I hope our audience thinks about when we're watching our selection this evening is, what is that difference between rebelling without a cause and rebelling with a cause, and what makes that cause worthy enough to be a cause? are you really taking an active stand against something, or are you just having an episode?
A tantrum.
That's a good question.
well, right.
Just having
Well, when I
think that
Are you just angry?
yes.
Yeah.
Is it
Are you
pent up
just
aggression
angry?
and anger,
Yeah.
and something eventually sets that off, or are you really motivated to make change?
And productive change.
Right.
Versus destructive change or just lashing out.
Right, and I think that our movie selection this evening teeters on that line in between, and it really depends on maybe how you identify with the character and what they're doing.
I think that's huge.
and things like that.
Why don't you tell us what the selection
Well,
is?
I will. I'm not there yet. You gotta tease it out a little bit.
Yeah.
Although, again, with our time
Yeah.
constraints, I'm trying to be more brief than normal. So I did have a plethora of options to pick from, because this is a massively recurring theme
Oh,
throughout
yeah.
art and cinema
Yes.
and whatever.
Well, you were limited in terms of the time.
I was. So
He had a whole
Right.
decade.
but
okay.
so I had a whole decade, and that decade was the 90s.
Yeah, which is
A lot of
rebels.
rebellions.
Yeah.
Ton of rebellion
Yeah.
in that decade, and put. I mean, you could say that about every decade. I mean, you know,
70s,
70s,
You can, but each decade does have its share of rebellion. It just does. That's the nature of adolescence.
yeah,
and young adulthood,
You know,
I
there was
think.
that pre-millennium tension kind of thing going
Y2K.
on. Everyone, yeah, it just there was a zeitgeist of that time.
Yeah.
That identified a lot with rebellion.
Well, the 90s was when
against
we had
established
our
norms.
personal moments of rebellion also, because
That's
that's when
right.
we were teenagers.
That's right. So Fight Club is something that's come up a lot in
Oh,
recent,
yeah.
in recent lists. And, you know, you can say that our main character, who's nameless, it was a radical rejection of consumerism and societal expectations and norms, and in the pursuit of seeking a personal liberation and meaning.
And in my own interpretation, I think as a rejection of the emasculation of men.
Absolutely.
The most recent time we watched it, I got that was a big takeaway for me.
Yeah. And again, that was a late 90s movie,
Yep.
99. And so was The Matrix,
The Matrix.
which is another, similar example where, these people discover that reality is a simulation, and they join together in rebellion against these machines that are controlling humanity.
You have to choose.
They're fighting for freedom and truth.
Yeah.
Do you want an easy life that's not real, or do you want to really stand and fight for, your own
Autonomy.
and reality? Yeah. Dead Poet Society came up.
I saw that once in ninth grade.
Where they're
Oh, Captain, my Captain
Yeah.
one.
yeah
Yes.
they're pushing against or rebelling against established norms in this repressive school environment,
Carl, like you.
fighting for
Like you.
individuality and self-expression.
Right.
So yes, Carl didn't stand at his desk.
He ripped a book in half.
Ripped a book in
He
half
hunked
and
it.
shoved it in my teacher's mailbox, which in retrospect, that was a dick thing to
It kind
do.
of was a dick move.
They were trying to, there's a lesson to be taught with this book
You didn't want to hear it at
that
the
I
time.
wasn't getting out of my Stephen King books at the time.
Right?
Yes, but you
weren't
can say that
receptive.
now
I can say that now.
because there's been
I have age and wisdom.
a significant
Yeah.
period of time,
Yes.
and with time comes wisdom.
I've evolved as a human.
Absolutely, and that's
right.
kind of the point, right?
Yes.
That's part of growing up. I don't know. There's a host of others. Malcolm X was one. Thelma and Louise. I'm not going to mention that one. JFK, Train Spotting,
Yeah.
Philadelphia is a good example of a rebel with a cause.
That was the AIDS movie, right?
Yes, it was Tom Hanks.
The AIDS
It was
movie.
the AIDS movie when he's like battling a
There's
court
only been
in court.
one.
He's a lawyer,
Yeah.
and he was fired for being gay
Oh.
and having AIDS.
Oh.
And his fight was against this corporate discrimination and,
Yeah.
and societal stigma,
Yeah.
and advocating for justice and dignity,
Yes.
right? Through that, all good things. I didn't pick any of those.
Nope.
What I picked, and again, I don't have favorites, but I do have movies that I really enjoy, and
You could call them favorites.
this film that I picked. See, favorites and favorite are different concepts to me. But anyway, the film I picked was a 1993 thriller drama, rebel with or without a cause, Falling Down,
Yes.
which I've been dying to have this movie on this podcast for a while. And I don't think I'm going to do it justice because there's a lot. This movie has a lot of depth to it that maybe doesn't come across to everyone in their first viewing of it because you're paying attention to certain things. But upon rewatching, you'll find that there's a lot of really good, interesting depth to the story, and not only that, it's a well-made film. Things happen for reasons. Even minor things. And if you're familiar with The Critical Drinker, he is on YouTube and he does a very thorough, interesting analysis.
He does of this movie.
On this film.
Yeah.
And it's worthwhile if you enjoy this film. But it was directed by Joel Schumacher, who's done a lot of other films like The Lost Boys and Batman Forever. Kind of a weirdo creep, but he makes a lot of interesting films.
He does.
It was written by Ebbe, E-B-B-E, Rose Smith. They wrote the screenplay, and they drew from their own experiences of frustration in Los Angeles. So this stemmed from their own personal experiences.
Well, and when you watch this film, we can talk about it after. At least when I watch it, I see scenarios that I have experienced myself. And this movie is almost like your own fantasy.
Like you're living
what would
vicariously.
happen if I really did flip out?
It's kind of cathartic watching it.
I love this movie.
It really is, but it's an interesting transformation of tone from the beginning of the film
to the end. And it's sad.
And what it focuses on.
Yeah.
And it is
sad.
It does have a poignant message and feel to it. And it's interesting how you come away from the film versus how you enter into it. But the writer originally had a much more bleak vision of this story, and Schumacher made it more of a thriller and more of a commercial interest than Smith's
original
intent.
Okay.
And there aren't a whole lot of major players in the film, and I'm not just talking in terms of actors, but just in terms of roles.
Yeah.
There's many minor characters, but there's only a few major characters.
You really follow one man. And
do.
the police, I think the police have some.
Yeah, Robert Duvall.
Yeah, that's right.
So
that's right.
We have Michael Douglas as the star, who's playing Bill Foster, but he's known as Defense.
That's right.
In the film, and we'll talk about that later. You do have Robert Duvall as Pendergast, who is a super interesting, complex, deep character who has their completely own parallel story to what Michael Douglas's character is going through. It's almost like an entirely separate story within a story. And then you have Barbara Hershey, who's playing Foster, or Michael Douglas's character's ex-wife. And she kind of brings additional depth to Douglas's character, kind of rounding him out and showing that the presence of her character allows us to better understand where some of his motivations are coming from.
It humanizes him a bit.
A bit, yes.
We'll talk about all that after we watch it.
So, like I mentioned earlier, the film was inspired by these real-life experiences of the writer's time and life in LA. It was actually he had a meltdown during a traffic incident, or he was stuck in gridlock, and he fantasized about just walking away.
Done it.
Leaving the car and
Yeah.
going.
Like, fuck this.
And there was a recession in 1991, and LA was a very tense place to be, especially post Rodney King.
That's right. The race riots.
And that helped kind of fuel the
ideas.
the edge
Yeah.
to the script. It kind of put the point on,
Yeah.
or helped influence.
Well, I find this movie to be timeless because even though this was set in, the early 90s, there's still a lot that's applicable today. There just is.
Other interesting points are Michael Douglas kind of transformed himself into this character. I don't know that he's a method actor, but he really immersed himself in this role. He's not like a oh my gosh, taxi driver.
Method actor.
Yeah, method actor.
Oh my God.
Like De Niro?
I can see- thank
Robert
you.
De Niro.
Jesus
Or
Christ.
Daniel Day-Lewis.
Yeah.
Robert De Niro is who I was thinking of. While you're watching the film, there's a scene that takes place in a fast food restaurant. Just know that whole spiel that he gives in there was completely improvised. It was not part of the script. Douglas came up with that on the spot.
Oh, nice. Interesting.
Filming took place across real Los Angeles locations, and it was during a heat wave. So it
Feels sweaty.
it not only feels sweaty, but it amplified the cast and crew's irritability. So everyone was kind of on edge, and it helped kind of foster the mood.
There's
of the whole
definitely
thing.
a
It added some
tone,
authenticity to
a
it.
color tone to this film too. It's like a reddish, brownish, almost sepia tone, especially in the beginning.
Yeah. Well, it's the smog. Yeah. But yeah, it's almost like the smog is palpable and adds to the tone of everyone's just general demeanor.
Just like anger and
Yeah.
happiness.
So Douglas wasn't the first pick for the main character. Gene Hackman and Jack Nicholson were considered for those roles, and
It needed to be Michael Douglas.
Michael Douglas himself
Maybe
pushed
Gene
for
Hackman.
Duvall as Pendergast after De Niro, who was the original pick, declined. And I think Robert Duvall was a perfect
Choice.
yeah. So, upon release, it had quite a critical reception. The film sparked debate. Some saw it as a critique of the failure of society, societal failure. Others as glorifying a white male vigilante. So
Okay.
even back then, we were
Yep.
still dealing with this bullshit. Schumacher later said he intended ambiguity, letting viewers decide if Foster was a hero or a cautionary tale. So again, getting back to what we had mentioned earlier. There's Nazi stuff in it, but not our main character. It's just a scenario that he encounters. That part, the interaction between Douglas and the people in that scene was also ad-libbed, which kind of added to the realness or rawness of that scene. But yeah, in general, the film follows our main character, Bill Foster, who's an unemployed defense worker who snaps under the pressures of modern life in LA. He's stuck in traffic on a sweltering day in LA, and he abandons his car and he embarks on this crazy, chaotic, violent journey across the city. He's intent on reaching his daughter for her birthday. And I'll leave it at that.
Kind
for
of like
now.
Old Boy.
Yeah, kinda.
That's where the similarities are.
Kinda. There were people in the movie, kind of like Old Boy.
It's true. All right.
And I have a lot of other, talking points and discussion points and things, but they don't really make sense until
Afterwards?
You see the film, so
Okay.
maybe I'll bring them up afterwards. Maybe not. But things to think about as you're watching the film. One, I already mentioned. Is this a rebellion or is it a breakdown? Two, how is the film being used to critique 1990s urban life, the economic situation, and the erosion of the American dream? Because all those things come into play.
Yeah.
And the time period is... I think this film could apply to any time period, but there's a lot that makes it centered around the 90s. Not just because it was filmed then, but because of what was going on. 3, we have a sympathetic villain, so to speak. Foster...
An anti-hero.
An
almost.
anti-hero.
Is it? See, but I think... Yes.
To
but-
me, he's an anti-hero.
But does it go deeper than that? Why do we root for him despite the violence and all the disruption that he causes?
We're going to answer that question
Later, yeah.
Yeah, we are. I think that's a good question to go back to.
Something else I mentioned, this duality of Prendergast. You'll know
The
what I'm
cop.
talking about.
Yeah.
Yes, Duvall's character. Once you watch the film, there are kind of modern ideas of gender and power in the film, dealing primarily with Foster himself and his wife, and dealing with divorce and
Custody of
custody.
children.
Yes.
Yeah.
There is a whole, if you grew up in the 90s, you could say, how does this film reflect the early 90s? This post-recession anxiety, the LA riots, cultural shifts. Is it still relevant today? The tone and satire of the film mixes dark humor with tragedy. How does that enhance this message about rebellion? Or does it kind of undermine the main character's cause? You know, does it make it... Do you interpret it differently because of the way it's presented? I'll just leave it at that. And then lastly, there's this moral ambiguity. You know, is the film encouraging people to behave like our main character? Or is it
a cautionary tale?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it is open to interpretation. So it's interesting to see when you watch it, what do you take away?
Yeah. All right, so in the interest of brevity,
Yes.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Excellent.
I have a whole lot of other things that I kind of wanted to talk about, but that's okay. If you've never seen this film, I'm excited for you.
Where are we watching it?
On the television. It's available everywhere.
Is it on Amazon?
It is on Amazon. That's
Yeah.
where we happen to be watching on Amazon.
Okay.
But it's available
All over the place.
You know how to find content by now. So pick your favorite
If you don't,
place
too bad.
that offers it. Well, you will.
All right.
Evolve, use the internet, figure it out.
You say I. Carl, what did we have for dinner?
Pasta
We did. We had like pasta,
with meat
sausage,
sauce, and
mozzarella, bacon.
globs of cheese.
Yes. I just shredded up some mozzarella, stuck it in, shoved it in the oven.
That was at least like 30% cheese.
It was good.
Yeah.
And we had gondola bread from Trader Joe's. It was in the
It's like
shape of...
hollowed out
Yeah.
torpedo
with,
rolls.
With cheese and garlic butter in there and salad. And it was good. We had
Delicious.
some dessert. All right. Well, let's go descend into madness. Let's go live vicariously through this guy. I
That's
always
right.
love it.
Yep.
I do.
It makes you
I
wanna
love
go
this
do it, but
movie.
don't. But
No,
don't.
but
Please
don't.
don't.
Don't do it. Don't do it. Let him do
not
it.
condone
Remember,
his actions.
think about it. Remember what we talked about.
Just wait for the ending.
And
All right.
yeah, we'll break it down
Yeah.
after the break.
Okay. Let's go fall down.
All right, everybody, we are back.
We have returned.
We have stood up.
We fell down, but we stood back up again.
We rebelled and fell down. So what do you guys think?
Oh, I still love this movie. Every time I watch it, I take away something a little different, and this time was also true.
Yeah. Carl.
Yeah, this movie's great.
It really is.
Yeah, it's
It's a gem.
it really is. there's a lot to it. It's funny, as I get older, I know I say that a lot, but it's true. Like, you know, a lot of these movies, if I've seen it before, it's usually more than once and it's throughout different years, but you realize how sad this movie is.
Oh, yeah.
It's tragic.
It is.
It really is. It's a
tragedy.
Tragedy.
Yeah.
Especially once you get to the end and you have all the puzzle pieces, you know what's going on.
It's a tragedy for Michael Douglas's character, but it's a triumph. I mean, it's still a tragedy, but it's a triumph for Robert Duvall's character.
You think so? You think
Yeah,
it's a triumph?
it's like they're moving in, like they're on opposite
They've
ends.
made different. They're
Yeah,
the same
yeah.
kind of man. They're, and we'll talk about it after
Yeah.
you know, they're suffering the same slings and arrows of life. They're the same demographic of person, but they choose to deal with it in very different ways. And I think the movie portrays what those choices, what the outcomes of those choices are,
Yeah.
good or bad.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And neither of them are ideal, you know?
no.
It's not that, you know, Prendergast is the ideal where Defense, or Bill Foster, is the flawed character. And we'll get into Prendergast's issues in a minute, but
I will say, like, this movie is funny,
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
but to Matt's point, the more I see it, the more I almost feel bad for laughing, because you're watching a man just like crumble.
Yeah, but it is funny.
And it's funny, but like the results of his actions are more tragic for him. Like he's
Oh, yeah.
making it worse for himself.
of course, but that's not what you're
Yeah.
laughing at, right?
No.
You're not
No.
laughing. I mean, there are just funny lines and moments, and
Right.
Yeah.
you know, things like that. But yeah, the overall, I don't know. Overall, it's not funny.
Right.
No,
it's more of a
it is a tragedy.
like we said.
It definitely is.
So real quick,
Real quick.
I am never one for detailed recaps,
You can no.
but generally speaking, we have the movie begins, and I will talk about this a little bit. I love the fact that we begin and we see Michael Douglas in his car, and it's silent.
Mm-hmm.
There's no sound, there's no music, and we see our main character, Bill Foster / Defense, in his car in this terrible traffic jam. And he's surrounded by everything you would expect to be surrounded by in a traffic jam. Buses full of kids and people honking their horns.
A cacophony.
And
Flashing lights.
But I guess what I'm trying to highlight is the buildup of that. You're not just popped in there all
No.
at once. He's in his car, he's by himself, the windows are rolled up, and it's hot. And you can feel the heat. Like in the episode last week where I was talking about the palpable tension and heat in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Same thing here in this opening scene. You can see sweat beading on his forehead and dripping down his face. And you can put yourself there.
Oh yeah.
You can feel it. And then the sound starts to build up. You start hearing the honking horns. You start hearing kids on the bus. You start hearing the din of the construction in the background.
Well, and the great effect is that when the movie opens, it starts at his mouth and he exhales,
breath.
and that's
Yeah.
all you hear. And then the camera starts to slowly zoom out onto his face, and it's like a fishbowl effect. So right there, you're like, oh my God, I feel weird and claustrophobic. And then the camera zooms out more, eventually zooming out of his car, and it does this like 360 all around, and as it's going, you're hearing the sounds like the kids on the bus and guys talking on their cell phones and other people shouting and some woman putting her makeup on and people beeping, and so and then it builds and builds and builds, and the whole time you're like, oh my God, it just gets worse and worse and worse. So I think it's a great opening scene that really immediately gets you irritated.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It immediately makes you uncomfortable, and everything is relatable. You know, everyone's been stuck in traffic. Everyone has he's seeing bumper stickers with just asshole bullshit messages on it.
Yeah.
Like there's a Garfield doll on suction cups in the window of a car, but Garfield has like a mean face. He has
And sharp teeth.
sharp pointy teeth, and it just kind of puts you off. And then there's a girl in the car in front of him staring at him through the rear window,
Yeah.
just making him feel uncomfortable but maybe sad at the same time because it's reminding him maybe of
his daughter.
of his daughter.
Yeah.
And it's I'm sorry, I could talk for a couple hours on this film. I won't, but it's just such a perfect
Suffice to say,
setup.
it really is.
So, again, we have Bill. He is, and I'm not going to go in order. So, we have he is a recently laid off defense worker. After having enough of his current situation in the car, you can tell he's frustrated. He can't take it anymore. There's a fly that's bothering him and whatever. Anyway, it's this stifling heat wave and gridlock, as we already said, and he just leaves.
He just gets up and leaves his car.
He opens the door, and like this cacophony's building, and eventually he opens his door, and it kind of stops. And he kind of takes a breath. And he gets out of the car, takes his briefcase, and he leaves. And the guy behind him's like, "Hey, where you going? What are you doing?" And he says, and this is recurring, "I'm going home."
Yes. I'm going home.
And he proceeds to walk away.
Completely just
the
takes
woods.
off.
So, and various things happen. At that same point, we're also introduced to Prendergast, who happens to be also sitting in traffic. The same traffic jam,
traffic.
a few cars behind him.
Yep.
And so we're introduced to him briefly. We find out that he is a retiring police officer. Today's his last day. And
Which is never good for a cop in a movie
No.
about to retire.
and this film takes place in a single day.
Yeah.
So he leaves armed with this briefcase, and he is this man on a mission
He just wants to get home.
where he just wants to get home. Now,
For his daughter's birthday.
home is he's divorced. He does have a child, but he and his wife, their relationship is
Has deteriorated.
estranged, right?
Yes.
She has restraining orders against him. She believes that he has a propensity for violence and what have you. And we come to learn about his propensity for violence very shortly. So on his way home, he calls. He keeps using payphones to call his wife or the house, and he'll call. She'll pick up, and he won't say anything. But she knows it's him, and
Now she's spooked.
she's spooked, and they're trying to get the house ready to celebrate, their daughter's birthday, and he runs out of change because he keeps calling, and she picks up, and he hangs up. So he walks into this convenience store, this Korean convenience store, and he wants to get some change, and this is what. This is how the events start to unfold in terms of his
This
rebellion.
is the kickoff.
His rebellion.
Yeah.
This is how it starts. Because he walks in, he just wants change to use the phone,
And the guy's already got the till open.
and he won't give him change.
He's
He
like,
says,
no, you have to buy something.
You got to buy something. And he. I don't know that he snaps at this point, because I think that his mind has been in this state for a while, and it just bubbled up to the surface. He doesn't snap when he gets out of his car because of the traffic. It's just he made a decision, a conscious decision, that he's done.
He's done with the pretense.
That's right. Yeah, done with the pretense. everything's out on the table now.
Yep.
So he's told he has to buy something to get change. If he buys this drink that he wants, and then again, it's a great scene because he's in that store. It's hot. Everyone's miserable. You can feel the tension between him and the shopkeeper, and he opens that cooler door to get the soda, and he just pauses. And you know that feeling on like a super hot day.
Open the fridge.
Open the
And he
fridge
touches
or
the
a
Coke
cooler
can to his face.
and you can.
And he's trying
feel
to
it.
get some relief, because you could tell he's hot inside too. He's he's like gonna boil
powder
over with
keg.
yeah.
Boom. Yeah.
So he calms down a little bit and he brings the soda can to the counter.
It says 85 cents, which won't give him enough change for the phone call.
Right.
And it escalates from there. I don't know. You guys are gonna have to help me from not getting into all this detail because this film is a very simple premise, but like we said earlier, there's a lot of depth to
every interaction.
It's almost like a series of vignettes where he is trying to go home.
Yes.
And he is impeded by various either situations or people. And he gives zero fucks at this point.
And he has
he's
his
impeded
own
by real life things. They're not
right.
like
It's not manufactured.
No.
No.
So he gets super frustrated that this isn't going to work out. It's like, I just did what you asked me to do,
Right.
and this still isn't going to work out.
You could have
for
just given me the change. You didn't.
Right, because you're just being a jerk.
Yep.
And that's kind of his code. It's like,
but there's a lot of symbolism too, like when he's smashing up the store and the glass holding all the American flags.
Well, there's a
falls to
lot
the
of
ground
American
and-
flag. There's a big flag motif. This movie is a commentary on America
Yeah.
and all its attitudes and
And how
how people interact.
people
and
try to do the right thing, and even
Yeah.
then they're turned away. It's an unfair system. It's
Right. Like if you follow the rules of society, you're not necessarily guaranteed
no,
anything.
No.
No, oh no. And,
No.
I think the big takeaway for me was every time Bill Foster has an interaction that escalates him, it's because he's interacting with people that have zero empathy. They don't care. They don't take 5 minutes. No one is kind. Everyone's just rude and abrasive, bordering on malevolent, like the gang guys and, the Army Navy surplus guy. But like the Korean shopkeeper guy, he was just being a jerk. And he didn't have to be.
yeah.
But he set him off, whether it was wrong or right or however you feel about it.
Well, so there was incitement there, right? Mm-hmm. We have that shopkeeper inciting.
He knew he needed the change, and he knew how much change he needed.
But he
He's
doesn't.
just being an ass.
But again, who's in the wrong? Is it him doing something perfectly legal, although shitty as a human being?
But he also works in a bad part of town, and maybe he gets people coming in all the time, and he had to make those rules. And you don't know. You just know that one interaction. This is how these two people chose to play it.
Yeah.
And it ended badly. It ended in the destruction of this guy's store because Michael Douglas flips out. And
I don't know that it's tough. I mean, because I don't know that we necessarily want to go situation by situation, but I don't know that his reaction is necessarily. I mean, most of the situations I think he took too far.
Oh, every
in
single
terms of
one.
his
Every
reaction
single one.
to it.
But we, as the viewer, I mean, at least from I can only speak for
I
myself.
do. I root for him every time.
We
I'm like,
do.
do it.
As the viewer, I think that there's a shift from the beginning of the film. We put ourselves in his shoes, and we're like, yeah, fuck that. I can totally understand that. And it's like a cathartic experience. You see someone acting out what you kind of maybe would fantasize about in those situations. But the more we learn about him and the more we see the effects of what he chooses to do, it changes the tone. And we don't root for him
by the end.
But by
No.
the end,
Well, it's like
and that turning
revenge.
point happens, I think, when he's in the Army Navy store, and we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
when
But
we get there.
it's like our revenge theme where it feels good in the moment. You're like, yes, but there's so many sequelae from doing it. I know.
Is that a
I just threw
crossword
that one
word?
out. No, not yet. There are repercussions, right? That are bad.
Well, and he reaches a point of no return. It comes up
He
later in
does,
the movie
yes.
where he reached that himself. Like
Yeah.
at a certain point,
I'm
it's
not
like,
going back.
You can't go back.
I'm on a journey. Or at one point, he tells his ex-wife, he talks about Apollo 13. He's like, and they go behind the dark side of the moon, and you don't know what's going to come out the other side.
Past the point of no return.
Past the point of no return, and I'm on the dark side of the moon, and I don't know what I'm going to come out like on the other side. It's so good.
Yeah. Right.
This movie should have won an Oscar.
It's like it would be great if we had an hour to kind of
I
get our
know.
thoughts together and then have something a little more cohesive and then this, and it was awesome.
Yeah, but it's good to talk about one or two of these, not all of them, but
Right.
just a couple of these scenes to give you an idea of how great it is and how there's so much to unpack in each scene.
Well, and in a lot of the situations, he's almost aghast at how the people are reacting to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's starting with the shopkeeper, where the shopkeeper's like, "Take my money, take my
like,
money."
"You think
I'm a
He's like, "What do you think I am?" And
Right.
that happens on more than one occasion where people assume, like, "Oh, you're gonna kill me," or "I'm in." And he's like, "What do you think this is?"
Right.
And he's so like,
But it's like the people miss the point of his rebellion. We know, the viewer knows,
Yeah.
but they don't, and because they're on the other end of it, while
Right.
we're just this.
We're following him.
We are, yeah,
They're not.
right.
So
they're
he
just seeing him at
he
this one
enters into
point.
their lives, yeah.
and he looks like a maniac because he kind of is a maniac, but
Right.
we know his motivations. We know why he's doing it. And sometimes through his interactions, he tells people why he's doing it. He'll explain, I'm doing this because XYZ
Right.
or,
Right. So he leaves the store, and he ends up coming to an agreement with the shopkeeper that he will pay 50 cents for the soda so
Yeah.
that he can have 50 cents for the phone call. And he ends up taking the shopkeeper's bat, which was there. Now, he leaves there. There's an incident with some gang members in which he happens to be able to use the bat. They
To
try
defend
take his
himself.
briefcase. And the briefcase is something that I wanted to mention it before we watched the film, because that was another thing to kind of look out for. I wanted people to think about what the briefcase was, what it symbolized. But we're not there yet.
Oh, okay.
So he does confront these gang members. He ends up using the bat on them, and they drop a knife. So he
Now
picks
he has
up
a knife.
the knife.
He upgraded his
Ta-da!
weapon.
He did. He totally did. I was like, this is like a video game.
And it's kind of showing how his rebellion is getting bigger, or maybe more serious, right, through these incremental steps.
He feels more emboldened each time.
Well, right, and now he's armed.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, he was armed with the bat, but now we know he's willing to use it, and now he has,
A more dangerous weapon, arguably.
yeah.
Yeah, but again, he doesn't start the fight with the gang members. They pick a fight with him.
That one I feel like was justified in terms of he was defending himself.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was, but he was sick and tired of the bullshit.
Right.
All he wanted to do, he has a hole in his shoe.
Right.
And he takes a newspaper that he had with him, and if you look carefully, you'll see that it's the classified
classifieds.
section with several different things circled.
He was
But
job
it's-
hunting.
It's
But
worthless.
we don't know that. We don't
Not-
even
not
know
at
he's
that point.
unemployed. We think he's on his way
Right.
to or home from work.
Right. So that's a little clue.
So he's sitting there. He's trying to fix his shoe, and he's on this block of concrete in the middle of this junk,
Lot.
abandoned lot, and the concrete's covered with graffiti, and these two guys come over, and they just want to cause, stir shit
They're
up.
being assholes.
And they
You're
wanna
on our
rob
land. This is
him.
private property, blah, blah, blah. And at first, I mean, ultimately, he's like, you know what? Okay, this is your private property. I will
I get it.
respect
This is a gang
that.
thing.
Yeah, I respect that. Let me take my business elsewhere. And then they don't let it go. They're like, well, you're going to have to pay a toll. Now they're being super jerks. So he's like, you know what? I tried to be nice. I tried to be reasonable, but you don't want to be reasonable. And that's when he goes after them with the baseball bat.
This is what happens, Larry.
Right, exactly.
But people don't want to be reasonable. They want the fight. They want that confrontation.
Well, they got it.
And they did, because
Yeah.
they don't expect people to retaliate.
Right,
But he does.
They picked the wrong day with him.
That's right.
right.
So he leaves. They're all pissed off, and it escalates to the point where it is a gang thing. And these two guys get with the rest of their gang, and they're in a car, and they have a bunch of guns, and they're driving around, and they find him.
He's at a payphone
again
calling his wife
again. So they're like, let's get this guy, and it's a crowded area. It's a bunch of people, so they drive by and they hang out of the car and they have a drive-by shooting, managing to hit pretty much everyone that's there except for him.
Yep.
They injure some people. They killed some 3-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Like all kinds of bad shit happens. But
They crash their car.
when they were trying to get away, they lose control of the car. They crash and they're injured. So Michael Douglas hangs up the phone, walks around the corner, has an interaction with one of the gang members who's, you would say, severely injured, kind of hanging out of the car.
Yeah.
And he now has this bag of guns that
He takes it out of the car.
was in the car.
Yep.
So things are escalating, and as he has the ability to use these weapons, these tools, as they come in, he's more and more emboldened,
Yeah.
and he feels, I don't know, you can tell that his demeanor changes a little bit, but you can tell he's emboldened. He knows he has the means to
Affect change.
yeah,
He does.
I guess so, yeah.
He does.
to affect change and go on. And, it continues from there. We have another vignette where he's in a fast food
It's a great
restaurant
one.
after that. And he wants breakfast, and they stopped serving breakfast 5 minutes ago, and he goes into,
He wants a womlet.
into this.
Womlet and a whammy burger. Is that what it is?
Whammy fries.
Whammy fries. But the womlet.
And
We're not serving
I was
breakfast
going to say he goes
anymore.
into a rant, but it's not even a rant. It's a totally reasonable
Yep.
reaction.
It's like, you still have the stuff back there. It's been 5 minutes.
He wanted the womlet for breakfast, and they're like, we stopped serving breakfast. We stopped serving breakfast at 11:30. It's like 11:32. He's like, but it's right there. Can I just have it? We stopped serving breakfast. So then he pulls his gun out.
Well, then they had it made, too.
I
because
know,
at the
it's
point
right
they were going
there.
to give it to him, they just go and take the box off the little slide.
But more than that, he's like, you walk into a fast food restaurant, people wear name tags with their first names on it, and he starts calling them by their first names, and then he
Rick and
stops himself.
Sheila.
He's like, why am I addressing you by your first names? He's like, I've worked for my boss for 7 years. I still call him Mister, and I walk into a fast food restaurant, and we're on a first name basis. And it's interesting because it's all these little things. Like, there's obviously what's actually going on, but then there's all this subtext
Yeah.
where that's the social commentary. That's what's going on under the surface of the film. There's all of this societal norms that are questioned, and why do we do things this way, and
Why are people like this?
why
Yeah.
why do people behave this way, and
Yeah.
why do we allow to why do we let ourselves be sold a bill of goods, like
We've all been lied to.
through advertising? Yes,
Yeah.
we're lied to constantly, and
Yeah.
we tolerate it, and we allow it, and we just accept it as normal, and we want to do what his character's doing, but obviously we don't, because that's not how you
Because it
function
ends
in
badly.
society. That's not how you deal with these problems.
Right.
But we can empathize with his
Totally.
frustration.
But then everything shifts when he goes to the Army Navy store.
Yeah, so he does go to the Army Navy store, but in the background, while all this other stuff is going on, Prendergast, he deals with thefts, robberies.
Yeah, he's a police officer. He's on the robbery unit division.
And he's retiring early.
Today's the day he's retiring.
And he has a complex, without getting into it, he has a complex relationship with his wife and with his coworkers and boss.
Yeah.
Because of his wife, he opted to not be on the streets anymore. He opted to go behind a desk.
And he's disrespected at work for that.
Completely.
His boss doesn't respect him. The lieutenant doesn't respect him, and his coworkers kind of don't respect him. And his wife is mentally unstable.
Right, she's untreated.
She's
mental.
got problems.
Well, and potentially, serious problems.
Yeah.
Because you tell me if you guys picked up on this as well. They had a daughter who was 2 years old.
That's 100% traumatic.
No.
Well, no.
I think.
Oh, you think she was responsible for it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think she was jealous. I think he mentioned my wife never wanted children. She did it for me.
And was she a model or something when they met? Because he said something like when you build your career around your looks.
No, not career, your life.
Your life. She was like the homecoming queen and all that. She
never got over it.
Never really had a career, and that was what she did. She had nothing else to live for. And when that's all you have, and you don't have a family, or anything,
or a career, or anything
to focus on, then your life is kind of meaningless. And you have this husband who's a police officer whose career takes a lot of time away.
Yeah.
From her, and yes, I think that it is heavily implied.
I think so too.
That she had a hand in the death of their child.
Yeah.
And he knows it.
Yep.
And he resents her for it.
Yep.
But she's the reason why he's retiring early. She wants to move to Arizona, and he doesn't really, but he rolls with it.
He tolerates everything she does for whatever he's committed to her.
But you can see it in his face, in his expressions. He grimaces and he just downs it.
And he wants to be a cop. Like he wants to do the cop thing and be on the street.
And he's good at it.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's that whole subplot. So he is the one. Now this isn't even his beat, but he's the one who starts putting these pieces together, where all of these separate incidents are reported, but no one's tying it together. No one's saying that it could be the same person. But
except for him.
And he starts to pick up these threads and put it together, and everyone blows him off. Because they're like, look, what do you want to do? Like,
What, are you trying to crack the big case on your retirement day? Why don't you just relax? And
so, everyone's kind of looking down on him, and then they're trying to plan, like, they fill his desk with Arizona sand, because that's where he's going. And
they're just busting his balls, but nobody respects him. Nobody listens to him. His partner does.
Yeah.
She does, but it's echoes of the same thing that Bill is going through, where he's this guy, he's trying to do the right thing by taking care of his family and going to work and, doing what he's supposed to do, and he's just getting shit all over. They're both just getting shit all over.
Yeah.
So.
All right. So, just to pick up the pace.
Yes.
If you want in-depth analysis,
watch the movie.
Watch the movie.
Oh my God, watch it.
Because I can't get into everything. But the Army Navy store is where everything changes. He has an interaction with the shopkeeper, who's a real asshole.
Also a neo-Nazi.
A neo-Nazi.
Yeah.
So real asshole.
Yeah. Okay.
But the whole point of that interaction is to kind of hold up a mirror to Bill and say, like, this is someone is saying that I'm like you. He uses those words.
Yeah.
I'm like you.
We're the same, man.
We're the same.
Yeah.
Right. And he's like, no,
We're not the same.
I'm not
Like,
the same.
Yeah.
Again, he's aghast at somebody's reacting to him like this.
He's like, we're not the same.
Yeah.
I don't agree with you.
You can see like we can see that as the audience, but he doesn't believe his actions give him that same sort of,
Lunatic.
like his actions are justified.
Well, don't they
whereas
say
this
that
guy isn't?
the best villains? Like you can kind of you can
Yeah.
see where they're coming from.
Right.
Like they feel like they're justified in what they're doing.
Yeah. Yep. Like,
And
oh
up,
my God, the
up to that,
gauntlet guy.
Thanos.
Yep.
Thanos.
Thank you.
Yeah, he wasn't wrong.
No, not really.
He could have just made more resources with the gauntlet, though. But that's beside the point.
All right, that's another discussion.
Neo-Nazi.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
it holds up a mirror.
an
to
ugly
him,
mirror.
An ugly mirror. And,
Yeah.
and quite literally, there's a mirror in that
Yeah.
scene where that neo-Nazi sees himself
Yeah.
in that mirror. And you can tell he's a little shocked and maybe kind of disgusted with what he sees in himself.
Right? Like I'm coming across like that.
But then, that is the first time that Bill kills intentionally.
Yeah, he kills that guy.
Well, and the point of no return conversation happens immediately after that.
Yeah,
That's right.
He's like,
And that
I've
is the
crossed
point of
the
no return.
Rubicon. I'm in it.
He made a choice right there.
Yeah.
He could have gotten away.
Yep.
He stabbed him in the
Yep.
shoulder,
Yeah.
and he was totally free to go. But he chose. He said, "Nope." And now I'm the arbiter of justice. I am making these decisions consciously.
Yeah.
I'm going to kill you, and he
Yeah.
does. And that's where everything kind of changes. So things go from there. In the climax of the film, like I said, he's trying to get home this
Yeah.
whole time. Well, eventually he does get home,
Yep.
and the wife and child are panicked, and they manage to escape
They flee.
the house before he finds them. And at that point, Prendergast has kind of figured out who he is.
Where he lives. Where he's going. Yeah.
They went and spoke to his mother, and we kind of get more of a background into Bill's character, and that's when we learn that he was fired.
Yeah,
From his job,
been unemployed.
like a
He's
month
having
ago.
a real
And
hard
where's-
time with the divorce.
And where's he been going all day?
Right.
we-
Where's he eating his lunch?
and you
that's
find
an
out
open
with the
question.
briefcase.
Well, that's an
Yeah.
open question. Yeah. So, right. Thank you. The briefcase. So, at some point before the Army Navy store, I believe, he's walking through a park, and this bum walks up and starts nagging him, asking him for money, making up
I
bullshit
need something.
stories.
I haven't eaten in 3 days. As
Yeah.
He's stuffing food in his mouth.
So he's trying to get out, and he's like, "Come on, you have 2 bags, and one is a gym bag full of guns, and the other is his briefcase."
Yeah.
And he's like, "You know what? You're right. Here, you can have the briefcase." And the guy's like, "Wow, really, man?" Ugh. And he opens up the briefcase, and there's like
It's his
a
lunch.
banana and an apple and a sandwich.
Yeah, it's really sad.
And nothing else. No
No.
paperwork, no anything. And now he's risked his life to keep this briefcase the entire
Mm-hmm.
movie so far. And then we get to that point, and he willingly gives it away. I really wanted to know what you guys thought about that. What did the briefcase mean? What did it symbolize? Why did he defend it?
It's his tie to civilization or to civilized society.
I
And
think so too.
At that point, he's like, you know what?
Fuck it.
I'm done with trying to be civil.
Yeah.
I don't need this is like it's like a security blanket. I don't need it anymore.
Yeah.
I
Take
think
it.
so too.
I think it's the link to order, to humanity, to making good decisions. But yes,
I can't live in
to
this world anymore.
civilization.
it's to what he does. It's his,
Yeah.
the haircut, the glasses, the shirt, the
Yeah.
tie, the briefcase.
Yeah,
That is the image.
of a productive citizen.
That's right.
That follows the rules.
Yep. Yes.
And
The rules.
Now he's
Which is
changed.
civilization.
And
I'd
Yeah.
rather have the bag of guns.
that's
Yeah.
right.
than
He
the
has
briefcase.
both.
I
He
have
has
the
both
gun.
the briefcase and the guns, and he realizes that you can't have your foot in both worlds at the same time.
That's right.
And he knows that the briefcase no longer applies, so he freely gives it away because it's meaningless now, and he chooses that path of violence
Chaos
and rebellion
and disorder. Yeah.
with the guns.
Yep.
I always thought that was kind of interesting
I do too.
because I never really thought about it. Maybe the first couple times I've seen
No.
this,
No.
but yeah. So eventually, he does, like we said, get to the home, and Prendergast has kind of figured things out, and he shows up there, and eventually they all end up on this pier.
The wife and daughter flee to a pier, which is the dumbest thing ever because it's a dead end.
Well, which is right
She
near the
goes,
house.
I know, but still. And then Bill realizes that that's where she's gone, so that's where he goes. And then Prendergast also realizes it, and he ends up there also. So they're all there together.
Yeah.
Well, in Prendergast, it's interesting because Prendergast and his partner get to the house. And Prendergast doesn't have a gun.
He doesn't have a gun.
Because they took his gun earlier that day because he's retiring.
Yep.
His partner gets shot. But even like the look on Prendergast's face as he's like, he almost looks like he's enjoying it. Like,
Oh, yeah.
it's like, this is what he wants to do. Like,
Totally.
this is,
Yeah.
He's solving this case.
Right.
But yeah, he wants this action. He wants to be involved in the thick of things.
right.
It gives him purpose.
Yeah.
Like, that's the world he wants to live in.
Right. Right.
But then, so we have everyone, and this is the climax of the film.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those, if you were going to draw a plot diagram, we have that long.
Here's the peak.
Ramp up, we have the peak, and then boom, we're done.
Right.
So
Like Brewster's Millions.
that's right. So we have the incident at the end of the pier. They're talking to each other. The wife and child are able to get away, and we have Prendergast and Defense Bill facing off, almost like a duel,
High Noon.
high noon kind of situation, because they
Tumbleweed rules.
eventually said,
Shootout.
"Let's draw."
Yeah.
And anyway, they go back and forth. They're talking.
But
and
that's the beauty of that climactic scene is that at first, Prendergast has a tub of popcorn and he's being really casual and he's talking to Bill.
Yeah.
And they were relating to each other. You can see that Bill is enraptured by, and Prendergast is just talking about stuff. He's talking about his family and his daughter that he lost, what's important to him.
But he's a good cop. Like, he did the similar thing with the mother. Like, he's in his element.
He is in his element, but
that's
he's,
who he really is.
but that's,
Right.
yeah.
He's a
But I think that
empathetic person.
he and Bill have a lot in common. They have a lot not in common too, but they care about their families. That's the most important thing to both of them. And so Bill gets kind of caught up in that until the cop cars show up.
Yeah.
And then he realizes it's a setup. And then Prendergast pulls his gun out and he's like, "Come on, let's just go."
Mm-hmm.
And Bill's like, "No, we're gonna have a shootout."
Yeah, he's like, I still have a gun. I have one.
Yeah, I
more
have a gun in my pocket. And he's like, "Don't do this. Don't you want to see your daughter grow up?" And he's like, "Not from behind bars, I don't. What's the point of that?" Like, he's gonna commit suicide by cop. And
Well,
Prendergast,
his plan at the end was to kill his wife and child, and then eventually himself to kind of reset everything and
be together forever.
end it. Yes, be together forever in the dark. He says that.
Yes.
It's really creepy
It is.
when he says that
Yikes.
earlier on in the film.
Yep.
But he pulls out this squirt gun at the last minute because his daughter was playing with it at the house earlier, and he happened to
Picked it
pick it up and he put it in his pocket. Really, and everything has a reason in this film. It's really good at that. It's not and then this and then this. It's because this.
Right.
And if you do watch the Critical Drinker's review of this on YouTube, he does a great job walking through all of that and a much more cohesive, well-defined analysis of the film in like 17 to 20 minutes. So if you like this, seriously, go find that and watch it. And then Bill dies, and that's essentially the end of the film. I mean, there's some other
Yeah.
things that happen after that wrap up. Prendergast is not
Prendergast-
retiring; he's still a cop.
He tells his wife to shut up.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
He stands up to his wife.
He flips out in a way.
Yeah.
yeah, oh, he does, but it's
in a productive
is starting
way.
to stand up for himself.
Yeah.
and it's a more balanced approach. It's not the I'm going to get walked all over, or I'm going to flip out and start killing people.
Right.
It's,
Happy medium.
you need to
Be
you need to
assertive.
be assertive, yes,
Yeah.
and stand up for what you believe in, but you still have to fall within the confines of structured society, with
Right.
laws and other people and
Right.
rules.
That's right.
So, okay, I don't want to go too much longer, but I did want to briefly
Lightning round.
touch on those discussion points that I had mentioned.
All right,
earlier.
lightning
So,
round.
Rebellion or breakdown? What do we think?
It starts as a rebellion and it ends as a breakdown.
Yeah, I could buy that.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think it's still an open question. You know, it depends
How you see it.
what you want. And then, there's the societal critique. That's not a quick thing.
No.
Why? Yeah, he is a sympathetic villain. Why do we root for him? I think we kind of covered
Because
that.
in a lot of these scenarios, they've happened to us where people are rude or disrespectful and
Or some rule doesn't make sense.
right. And you
Yeah.
get upset about it. And you have those fantasies about what if I just like punch you in the face?
Well,
What if I just smash this
and
up?
he's going through things that are relatable to everybody.
Yes.
Right? They're everyman type struggles.
Yes.
Where there's divorce or job loss or
Yeah.
traffic jams or frustrations, whatever. We can all relate to at least some of that.
Or a rude clerk at a store.
Yeah. Yeah.
The duality with Prendergast. I mean, we
talked about that.
We did touch on that, but there's a lot more to say there.
Sure.
In there, but gender and power. So yeah.
That's a whole nother. But we could. No.
Yeah, the whole.
There's a lot to chew on there.
conflict between his wife
Yeah.
and him and her interactions with the police and
Yep.
him being made an example of in the courts, and he never really did anything aggressive or physical to hurt the wife or the child.
But she felt like he might.
right.
And she wasn't wrong based on what happens in the movie.
And she wasn't wrong, but
Or did she drive him to that?
that's
Or,
right.
right,
Would
did
he have
she
gone
cause
that
it?
far if he wasn't
Could
out
he
of
have
contact
been
with his wife
helped?
and
Could
child?
he have?
Well, because it sounded like he got no custody, like no visitation.
The
'cause
judge
he-
made an example of him.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And then I thought, again, the 90s context, I think the whole look and feel and everything that's going on and where the film took place all kind of reflected that
It does. Yeah.
that
You
time
can
period.
tell
But-
that it's that time.
Keep an eye out for the Sir Mix-a-Lot butt.
yeah.
Oh, that's right. We saw that.
And I would say it's still
It's
still
totally
resonates
applicable
today.
now.
Yeah.
Totally.
There's the tone and satire, so we have dark humor and tragedy.
Love it.
I think it does a great job of being able to be an entertaining film about this, story, and it's a thriller and it's interesting, but it's still able to put that message across,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the moral ambiguity is kind of basically an echo of that first statement about
The moral ambiguity is how the movie starts, but by the end, there's no more ambiguity. And even at the end, when Prendergast is pointing the gun at Bill, Bill goes, "What? I'm the bad guy?"
Where did
like
that
he doesn't
happen?
see it.
Right.
He doesn't see it. And that's the tragedy to me, part of it.
Well, that's and that is the question. How did he get there? And that
Yeah.
the film that we watched to get to that point basically answers that question.
Yeah.
We learn how.
Yeah.
At least in this, today.
Today.
We learned
Yeah,
how he became
in the moment.
the bad guy, and we learned bits and pieces of his past. So anyway, I'm over my limit.
All right.
But yeah, that's the movie.
Watch it.
Watch it.
So good.
Enjoy it. Watch it again. Think about it.
Yeah.
What would you rate it, Rachel?
Oh, man. This movie gets 4.5 out of 5 whamlets.
Yeah, I'd give it 4.5 streeps.
It's so good. Every time I watch it, like I said, I see something else. I just think it's really well written. I think it's like a deep track in the movies. It's a hidden gem.
Would your moms like it?
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I bet my mom would
I
like
think
it.
so. I do. I think so. All
Yeah.
right, I got to spin my
Okay. Yeah.
Rachel needs to know
shake
her
up.
shake-up. Yeah.
All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
Have you stretched first, Rachel?
Spin.
Wow. Oh,
What do you
my shake up must have a surprise cameo.
Okay.
Oh.
But I take umbrage at the word surprise. Can it just be a cameo? Like, what the hell's a surprise cameo?
Aren't all cameos surprises?
Right? I'm going to go with that.
Sure.
All right. Must have a surprise cameo. So, Rebel with a Cause and a cameo, I'm assuming, of a famous actor or director or pop culture
Sports
icon,
figure.
sports figure. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
I can do that.
All right.
No problem.
Well, we've reached the end.
We have reached
this
the end.
episode.
It was so good. This is such a good movie. Good pick.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I applaud you.
It's, yeah. It's up there for me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Good one. I
That's a
hope you
good one.
guys watch it and enjoy it.
Yes. And we will be back next week.
Yes,
All right.
we will. With your pick.
Yeah. On the Movie Roulette Tuesday podcast.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.